So, how's everybody doing today? I certainly hope you're doing well. It's time for another edition of Story Time. And I like to let people know whether or not it's a true story or not. It is not a true story. It's a story in which Monty created. And let's go ahead and begin, shall we? The name of the story is called Wood and Stone. So let's go ahead and begin. You see, about a year ago, there was a woman by the name of Ashley. She was 34 years of age, and she resided in Utah. So yeah, let me tell you something about Ashley. She was an adventurous. She sure was. She didn't have the mentality of, she's going to get a career and she's going to advance herself, and then one day she's going to be an executive or own her own company. She wasn't into all that. Because again, Ashley was an adventurous. She liked to go hiking. She liked to go rock climbing. She liked to go fishing and hunting and all this stuff. Anything to do with the outdoors. That's what Ashley was really into. That's what she was interested in. So she'd have a job over here where she was maybe tending books at a bookstore. She'd have another job over here that was kind of like working the front desk at some sort of bed and breakfast. And she had another job where she's serving coffee at some little coffee house. Not the sort of corporate jobs that we're going to advance. You're going to become a manager, and then from a manager you might become a coordinator, from a coordinator. She's not interested in that because she wants to work only part-time to sustain household, just enough to get by, because when she's not going to be working, she's going to be hiking, rock climbing, skydiving, anything to do with the outdoors. She's all for it. Well, see, it was the summer of 2017, July specifically, when Ashley and a couple of her friends, there's about 5 or 6 people in this party, they went out into the wilderness in Utah. They were doing some hiking. Everybody had their backpack. They got all their food and their flares just in case of an emergency, because you never know. And in the area in which they're doing all this hiking and camping and carrying on and about, I tell you what, Ashley could pitch a tent faster than you could. She could pitch those, 6, 10-man tents in no time, right? A lot of us fellas here take us all day. Oh no, not Ashley. She was an avid outdoors person, big time, right? And her dream was always to scale these 14,000-foot peaks. Those are very few and far between. But as her and her friends are out and about, camping and fishing, hiking, exploring, well, there's another party of people just across the river. And this particular time of the year, well, the river was it wasn't as full as it's supposed to be because there's a drought going on. So there was other areas of the stream that you could just walk right across. It wasn't so deep. Whereas other areas of the stream, it was impassable. It was impossible to pass it, or to just walk across because it's so deep and they had white water and all that nonsense. So you see, Ashley could see the party across the stream. And there was a couple of fellas over there, right? They're doing their own thing, camping and hiking and who knows what they're doing. You see, in Ashley's party, there is predominantly a bunch of women that are also avid outdoors people. And there was like an emergency. One of the ladies got bit by a snake. Don't really know what kind of snake. And nobody's really a doctor, none of that kind of craziness. So Ashley shouted over to the fellas on the other side of the stream, or the river rather, and one of those fellas came to the rescue to tend to the wound of the snake bite victim. Right? Because maybe they know something about that sort of thing. And in doing so, they found out that, one, it wasn't a deadly snake, so it was nothing to worry about there. But somehow, some way, that party of hikers and such mingled, and we're now over on the other side with the ladies and such. And that's where Ashley met Aaron. Yeah, Aaron's 35 years of age. So Aaron is 1 year older than Ashley. And again, this was back in July of 2017. And hell, before you knew it, a couple of months went by, Ashley and Aaron, these people were inseparable. You see, Aaron was actually doing quite well financially because of his investments into the stock market and NASDAQ, all that stuff. He had some sort of investments in technology and also was responsible for providing a little bit of seed money to a startup that was extremely successful. So, you know, he's making constant income, which is called residual income, and he's doing just fine. So months after Ashley and Aaron had met, they decided they're going to tie the knot. They're going to get married. Because both of them, they love the outdoors. Both of them have some sort of wild dreams about scaling 14,000-foot peaks. Right? That's what they did. They did get married. They, in fact, got married. But they didn't get married until the spring of 2018. About May, see? And here's the darndest thing. When they got married, did they go on a honeymoon to Italy or Mexico or Belize or maybe Japan or New Zealand? No, sir, no, ma'am. No, they didn't. What they decided to do is they were going to go on a honeymoon that they both would enjoy. And where would that be? Might be a hiking trip to the Collegiate Peaks. The Collegiate Peaks in Colorado. But why do they call them the Collegiate Peaks? Because these mountain ranges are named after prestigious colleges. That's why. Oh, man. And they're going to go to Mount Princeton. Oh, yeah. They're going to scale that 14,000 footer. And that's what they go to do on their honeymoon. But you see, while they're getting ready, they got both of their backpacks. They got the sleeping bags all bundled up in that, all their tents. They got the foods. Of course, they got to have a flare gun just in case of an emergency, because where they're going, there's not going to be any cell service. I'll tell you that right now. And it's not like they got a sat phone. Because a sat phone is a satellite phone. It'll work anywhere in the world. Whether you're in a mountain range or in the middle of the ocean, it'll still work anywhere. Because it's being operated and functions through satellite relay. But they don't have that. They don't want that. That's the whole idea of going camping and hiking and fishing and carrying on about in the middle of nowhere. Because they got to rely on themselves in order to survive and have a good time while they're doing it. So that's where they go. After they get all their backpacks all filled up and all the necessary items they need to go camping out in the outback there, because they're going to be gone for about a week. Oh yeah. So it's kind of funny how it worked out. They called themselves a taxi. They had the taxi bring them right to the edge of the road in the middle of nowhere in the state of Colorado at the base of the Collegiate Peaks, specifically Mount Princeton. Just dropped them off. I tell you what, old Ashley and Aaron, they're just like two little June bugs. Happy as hell. Off they get out of the taxi and they just right into the wilderness. Just disappear in the woods. But you see, where they're going, it's going to take days to get there. And they're going to make sure of it too. Because they're not going to just race up this mountain. No sir, no ma'am. They're not doing that. They're going to have fun as a newlywed. Both husband and wife, see. So as they're hiking up and about, they come across this meadow. Well, Aaron, he's kind of a smart aleck. He sure is. He goes into his backpack there, and he's got a little surprise for Ashley. He sure does. What's that surprise? Well, she doesn't know this, but he decided he's going to bring a little kite along. So here you got Ashley and Aaron. They're flying a kite in this meadow. Because it gets kind of windy up there in those high countries. Let me tell you, it sure does. They're in there, and they got that kite just rolling around and just shoo, shoo. You know how it is. Plus, they're getting a little bit close up there. They're flying this kite and carrying on. So pleasant of a day, isn't it? It beats the living heck out of sitting in traffic, playing the corporate game. You know how it is. No. Ashley and Aaron, they're in love. And they're doing what they love to do. That's hiking and camping, rock climbing, exploring, being adventurous. They're doing it together too. Isn't that neat? Darn, I tell you, it is neat. So here they are after they're done with their kite session there. They decide they're going to go ahead and set up camp. So they start to cook themselves a little fire, right? They start making their meals and such. And it's getting darker and darker out. They don't really have to worry about the bears because, see, they have a remedy for all that nonsense. They don't have to worry about the cats, the mountain lions, or the coyotes and the wolves because they got a remedy just for that. See, Aaron figured out a way to keep those big, bad, boogie animals away from him. So what he did was he takes like Tabasco sauce, takes an entire bottle of Tabasco sauce, and he dilutes it a little bit with about a half gallon of water. He sprays it all over his person, pants and his arms, neck and backpack and all that stuff. Because you know those animals, they can smell a mile away. They sure can. And when they smell that peppery hot sauce nastiness, yeah, they're going to stay away from them. So he's not even worried about that part of it. Not at all. Not at all. So as the moon is starting to glisten through the clouds and the little stars are twinkling about, they're all cuddled up by the fire, whispering sweet something in each other's ears, you know. About ready to get busy and all. Get natural and all. But it doesn't even matter because they're having fun. That's what it's all about. Next thing you know, they're all cuddled up. They go to sleep. Next morning, sun comes up. They're up early. Here you got Aaron. He's making breakfast for the missus. You know how that works, right? So they get up and they start their day again. And they come up to this, it's kind of like a cabin, but it's made of stone. And again, specifically, they are at Mount Princeton. Mount Princeton is within the Collegiate Peaks in Colorado, and it's a 14,000er, maybe higher. So here they are, damn near the top. And they come across like this stone cabin looking thing. And it's quite large. Pretty good size. Interesting for sure. So they're looking around and they know other people have been there because there's a little bit of garbage in there, right? Like Reese's or something, right? Some wrappers of candy. Or maybe a plastic pop bottle, which is disgusting because you're in nature. I might quit it, really. Get a grip on yourself. Who would do that? That's like disrespectful. That's the whole reason of getting away from the everyday life that we all play into, I suppose, right? So as they leave the cabin, Aaron looks down the hill. It's about 55 feet to the east of that stone cabin, and he notices something very strange. He notices that there's a pile of wood and a pile of stone right next to each other. So he starts walking away from the stone cabin looking thing. And Ashley is kind of by his side. And she's kind of inquisitive. She's like, what are you looking at? And he said, look at that. Look at that, Ashley. Do you see that pile of wood? Do you see that pile of stone? It's out of place. It doesn't belong. What's going on? It's pretty apparent somebody put it there. But why? Why? So the closer they get, in fact, there is a pretty good sized pile of wood. And right next to it is a pile of stone. I tell you what, he's about maybe 8 feet away from this thing. And underneath the pile of wood, there's a little space about like this. And it's real dark there. But he can see with his own eyes. And Ashley can see it too. It almost looks like a set of eyeballs are looking at him. But they couldn't be eyeballs because, first of all, the color is like a neon bluish green and they're really far apart. So it probably isn't an animal. But the funny thing is, they're blinking. As if when you close your eyes and you blink in that area. But again, they're so far apart, it couldn't be an animal of this world. Right? Well, it's a little bit chilly up there, let me tell you. The temperature at the time in which they're up there examining and kind of studying the wood and stone, it's about 48 degrees. A little chilly. Not raining, like partly cloudy. It's a little chilly. And Aaron notices something else. That he can see heat emitting from the ground right near the wood and stone. Strange. The kind of heat that you would see, you know how in the summertime you're looking at the hood of a car and you can see the heat coming up off the hood? Yeah, kind of like that. So he kind of squats down, he's looking at it, he's like, Ashley, check it out. And they're looking at where the wood and stone are, and sure enough, there's some sort of heat emitting from just about the face of the wood and stone. It's like this heat, this display of heat is the threshold before you enter the wood and stone. Huh, strange. He can't figure it out. He's saying, well, maybe it's geothermal. It's possible, could be, but that wouldn't make much sense because we're almost at 14,000 feet. He's kind of scratching. He doesn't know what to think. Then he starts seeing those, what look to be eyes, just kind of flickering. So he takes a stick, and he throws a stick at the pile of wood. It kind of hits it and deflects off. Nothing happens. Then he takes a stone, a good-sized rock, and he throws it towards the wood. He hits a pile of wood, but it doesn't knock it over or anything. It just deflects off to the side and falls in the pile of the stone. Well, you know what? He's getting to the point where he's just going to go over there and he's going to lift up all of the wood that he can, move it out of the way to find out what this neon bluish green, what appear to be eyes, are underneath the wood. And as he stands up to go do that, Ashley grabs his hand and says, "Don't do it. I don't trust it. Don't do it." Aaron kind of pulls away and says, "Baby, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to be just fine." Right? So as he stands up, he's got his backpack on. He's got his sleeping bag, the whole 9 yards. In case he needs to get in that backpack and get out that little shovel. Right? He's not going to need to do that. He's just going to be moving the pile of wood. What's the big deal? Can't be that big of a deal. And as soon as he steps over the threshold where the heat was raising, right? Phew, he disappears. Everything gone. Just boom, gone. Ashley witnesses this man disappearing in thin air. Where did he go? She is starting to lose it. She's like, Aaron. She witnessed him disappear. She's not seeing things. He really did disappear. So what does she do? She starts, I tell you what, tears starts getting in her eyes. She starts screaming for Aaron. Aaron's nowhere to be found. Does she stay there? She can't stay there, because what's the chances of somebody just walking along? Not very good. She's going to have to get her ass down the road. She's going to have to contact the authorities. She's going to have to tell them what she saw, and hopefully they're going to send a response team or a rescue team up there to try to assist and see what happened. Maybe they can find him or something. Or maybe they've heard of this happening before. She's in a spot. And she's scared. And she should be scared. Everybody should be scared going up in the high country alone. That's not a good idea. You better always have a metal protector with you at all times, 24/7, buddy, if you're up in the high country by yourself. That's like common knowledge. She doesn't have a metal protector. The only thing she's got is a flare gun in a immediate emergency. But a flare gun is not going to do you any good unless you can see a helicopter or a plane above. Because they're not going to see you if you're just shooting flares up in the air. Chances are. Right? So she stays there for a good hour waiting for Aaron to reappear, and he doesn't. So she has to make the crucial decision that she has to make it down to where there is normal civilization. She's got to file a report, because now she just got married and he's just disappearing. What's going on? She watched it happen. That's what she does. She heads back down the mountain. And instead of taking 2.5 days, it only takes her about 2 days. Right? Because of course you got gravity working with you. She contacts the authorities. She tells them exactly what happened. That they went to the collegiate peaks, specifically Mount Princeton, in which about 55 feet away from a stone cabin, there was wood and stone, and it was putting off this heat. And he went over to investigate some weird looking lights that they were seeing underneath the wood next to the stone. Well, of course, you could imagine what the sheriff thought to himself, that this lady is either crazy or she's telling a story. Is it possible that something else happened to her husband and she just came up with some cockamamie story? You know, they don't know what to think. It sounds preposterous, doesn't it? So she pleads with him and pleads with them to send up a search party, in which they do. That search party consisted of about 15 people. They too had to hook up their backpacks and their sleeping bags because it's going to take 2.5 days to get where they were. It's not going to be quick and easy, right? So as they go up there, Ashley went up there with them as well to explain and show exactly where it was. And they're getting really close to the area in which Aaron just disappears. She says, okay, if people could just stop a second. It's just over this little hill. You're going to see it. You're not going to be able to miss it. You're going to see this pretty good size, this stack of wood, and right next to it, a stack of stone. It's going to be wood and stone right there. And there's going to be like some sort of heat coming. Don't go near there. If you go near there, you might disappear too. So everybody, all the rescuers, they go up over the hill. And you got one of the guys that is the lead rescue individual. He starts looking at the wood and stone. Right? He doesn't see those little ice that she was talking about, but the wood and stone is in fact there. And not far away is in fact some sort of stone cabin looking thing. Right? So this woman has been truthful, at least to her, the report she made to the sheriff. So what happens? You have 14 other individuals, including Ashley, witnessing what the team leader of that rescue team is going to do next. Well, he's just going to waltz on up there, and he's going to investigate himself. Because he's not afraid of that. He's not afraid of a pile of wood and a pile of stone. Who's going to be afraid of wood and stone? And as soon as he crosses that threshold where that heat was coming up off the ground, he disappears in front of all those people. Backpack and all. Gone. These people can't believe it. Because now you have 14 witnesses, and Ashley saw it with her own eyes that this dude just disappeared once he crossed that threshold. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to do nothing. You're going to do nothing. But here's the advantage, is one of the people that they sent up there for a rescue, he was law enforcement, and he had one of those cameras right there that recorded everything. Isn't that wonderful? It is wonderful, because it helps corroborate the information which Ashley gave to the sheriff in the first place. Plus, that footage is going to show how this dude just disappeared. Just gone. And this is a professional that seeks out to rescue people. Wow. So they all head back down the mountain. When they get back down the mountain, they brief the sheriff again. They provide the footage in which this guy just magically did a Peter Pan, just disappeared, just like that. So what happens next? Well, they're going to bring in the military on this one, because they have no other choice. They have no choice. So chances are between 24 and 48 hours, depending on the situation, because you can't get ATVs up there. Forget it. Can't be done. The terrain is so dense with the vegetation and the trees and the rocks and the cliffs and all this stuff. You couldn't get a bicycle up in there. You're going to have to walk up there. So chances are, unless they send in guys that, going to fly over and jump out of planes and parachute in, within about 24 to 48 hours, that entire area is going to be cordoned off by the United States military, and you're not going to be able to step foot there. Nobody will be able to. Because it's pretty apparent that that's a portal, right? And one person disappeared first, and that was, of course, Aaron. But there's 14 witnesses plus a video camera that witnessed one of their own team leaders of the rescue team vanish in thin air, buddy. And that was recorded on camera. Wow. Yeah, that's quite the event, isn't it? And that's exactly what happens. The sheriff contacts the military, tells them the situation, sends a copy of the video footage, somebody in the army, or who knows what. And that's exactly what they do. They march right in and take full jurisdiction of that entire area. Right? Meanwhile, Ashley, she's got to go back home. She has not a clue where Aaron is. She's really distraught. I'm sure you could imagine. Being a newlywed and then suddenly your sweetheart just disappears in thin air. What's going on? What? No. Crazy. So she finds her way back to the residence in which her and Aaron resided. And as soon as she walks in the door, guess what's sitting on the dining table? Aaron's backpack. She's, wait a minute. Whoa. And her heart drops right to her stomach. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? That's impossible. She watched this dude disappear, alright? So how is it that his backpack is sitting on their kitchen table? Wow, something's going on. Something's going on. She's kind of scared to touch it. She goes inside the kitchen there and she opens up a drawer. She gets a little wooden spatula and she goes over there to the backpack and she just pushes on a little bit. Because she's a little frightened. She walks around the table a little bit. She pushes it again. Nothing happens. She goes over there. She touches the backpack. She takes the zipper of the backpack and she opens up the backpack and she kind of looks inside. She doesn't know what to expect. Everything's there. Everything, even the kite's there with the string. Yeah. Kite that they were flying in the meadow. Everything's there. Again, Ashley gets a little tear in the eye. Because here's Aaron's backpack, but there is no Aaron. And then she starts hearing this very weird noise. It almost sounds like it's coming from a television or a broken walkie-talkie or something. And she hears, Ashley, help me, I'm cold. She's like, what was that? That about creeped her out now. She's really creeped out now. And she kept hearing it again and again. It kept getting kind of louder, following around no matter where she went. And what was this entity saying? Ashley, help me. I'm cold. Well, nobody likes to be cold, do they? We all know how that is. Nobody likes to be cold. But you see, that voice kind of sounded like Aaron, but that couldn't be possible because Aaron's not here. Aaron disappeared. But I guess it is possible because his backpack is sitting right here. And I can hear, not me, but her, she can hear his voice pleading with her that he's cold. Oh, man, this is something else. And she gets to think, wait a minute. Wait a minute. When Aaron disappeared, his backpack disappeared also. She's got to find out the full name of the lead rescue person that also just disappeared. And she wants to contact maybe his wife or somebody that knows him. Is it possible that his backpack showed up at his own house too? That's what she goes out to do. She's calling all these people. She's calling the sheriff. She's trying to call this one, call that one. She does find out the name. She does find out that that person that just happened to have disappeared on camera with 14 other witnesses, including her, right? Just vanished, thin air, pew! That He didn't reside too far away from her, about 7 or 8 miles. She puts a phone call in, talks to his wife, and she says, listen, my name is Ashley, and my husband disappeared a couple of days, and da-da-da, and I understand da-da, and they get to talking, and sure enough, his backpack showed up at home too, magically. Whoa, what? This is impossible. This is impossible. So Ashley turns around, she contacts the sheriff. She tells the sheriff that the lead rescue individual that disappeared as well, his backpack showed up, and so did Aaron's. So there's something going on here, buddy. Something's definitely wrong with this picture. But what? She also is telling the sheriff that she's hearing these voices, that Aaron is complaining that he's cold, but she can't see him. She doesn't know where he's at. What's she gonna do? Of course, the sheriff thinks maybe she's hallucinating. Maybe she's hearing things or seeing things because she's distraught and whatever. But that's not the case, because she really is hearing these things. And she does have that backpack in her possession that disappeared while Aaron was wearing it. But magically, it's on her kitchen table. Yeah, okay. So the sheriff instructs her to bring the backpack in to him so they can examine, look at it, maybe run some sort of test or do some sort of forensic analysis. But until that happens, you know what she does? Yeah. Because Ashley's kind of broken up about all this mess. She picks up that backpack that Aaron was wearing when he disappeared. She brought it into her, into the room where both of them sleep, the bedroom there. She's cuddling up with this backpack because she's trying to pull the scent or the smell of her husband off that backpack, see? Because she's remembering all the wonderful times. She's remembering about how when she met Aaron, right? When one of his friends there came to help because some other gal got, bitten by a snake and such. She remembers all the time they went rock climbing and exploring and all this stuff and fishing, carrying on and about. How they got married and they went to the collegiate peaks. She's remembering it all. She sure is. Damn near heartbroken too. Even though she can hear his voice and he's complaining that he's cold, but he's nowhere around. She's got his backpack, and that's all she has. She can hear his voice, she can smell him a little bit, but where's he at? It's horrible. She finally goes to sleep. Yeah. She wakes up early in the morning. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. She goes into the bathroom, and written on the mirror is a little note. And it looks just like Aaron's handwriting. Her heart drops right to her stomach again. But what does this note say? In cursive writing it says, Ashley, you must obtain 1 piece of wood and 1 stone. What does that mean? She's like, what does that mean? And who wrote this on the mirror? She's starting to get creeped out now. Man, this is really, really creepy. Like super, super creepy. But how's she going to do that? Is she going to be able to do that? She has to retrieve 1 piece of wood and 1 stone. It's got to be the wooden stone. It's got to be the wooden stone. Because if you remember, there's a pile of wood and there's a pile of stone. If she has to retrieve 1 piece of wood and 1 stone, that means she's got to go back to do that. Does this mean that if she retrieves 1 piece of wood and 1 stone, that she's going to retrieve her husband back? Yeah, probably so. Maybe that's what that means. Oh boy, she's really excited. She gets her backpack and things. She calls up a taxi. She goes right to the edge. Right to the edge of the Princeton base of the mountain. Gets out and she starts hiking. But you see, once she gets up about halfway, well, guess what happens? She's confronted by the United States military and she's not allowed anywhere near it. Because that's exactly what has happened, ladies and gentlemen, is the United States military assumed jurisdiction over the entire area. Because what they have discovered is that that is a portal into another dimension. And if you think that's impossible, well, it's not impossible. Nothing is impossible. If you think something is impossible, please examine the caterpillar going through metamorphosis to turn into a butterfly and tell me how impossible that is. Please do. Nothing is impossible, buddy. There are all kinds of different portals all over the world that truly do exist. And they know it. And this just happens to be one of them. But that doesn't help Ashley's plight. She's got to obtain one piece of wood and one stone. Who cares about the military? So what? Big deal. But how's she going to be able to do that? If she can't pass the threshold, she too will be just disappear. Is that right? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly right. So how is she going to get one piece of wood and one piece of stone? So she started talking to this guy in the military. I got to talk to your commanding officer. I got to get to the bottom of this. And then there was a note on the mirror that says, I got to... And she's going on and on and on. And finally somebody listens to her, the commanding officer of that whole situation. Brings her in and she tells him word for word the account, what happened, and how she witnessed how one of the rescuers themselves disappeared. And how Erin's backpack ended up on the kitchen table. And how there's this note about, she's got to retrieve one piece of wood and a stone, which is going to be the wooden stone. On the mountain there, right? And he's trying to explain to her, how are you going to get the wooden stone? She goes, can't you send in a robot? Didn't think about that. Might be able to. Then he just tells her, ma'am, I can't do that. I'm under strict orders. Nobody is to go anywhere near that, including you. Nobody. Of course, she's extremely distraught, man. She's crying. I mean, she's like putty in the hand now. She is almost out of her mind. She's thinking to herself, if she can't retrieve the wooden stone, maybe she'll just walk right through the portal herself and be with Erin wherever he may be. Oh, man. But you can't do it. Because that entire area is cordoned off by the United States military. And believe me, there aren't. They are not going to allow anybody over there. Nobody. Regardless. It doesn't even matter why. So here she goes. She goes heading back to the mountain again. She gets a taxi and such. She finds her way home. She walks in the door, and who's sitting? Who is sitting at the kitchen table? She is. I'm monographing if you can't speak freely, you're simply not free.